Shalom, everybody. This is Brian-Asriel from Hebrew Hearts Ministry. I've been thinking a lot lately about Hebrew Hearts and what makes Hebrew Hearts different. We started out as Torah of Yeshua, which is kind of heady, kind of wordy, and kind of abstract to a lot of people, which is the general messianic thing to do. But Hebrew Hearts, let's admit what makes it different and what's our focus. And our focus is to fight for hearts. What's heavy on Yahweh's heart should be heavy on our hearts. And what's heavy on our hearts is probably on Yahweh's heart too. And I think a lot of ministries focus on the physical, which is fine, which is good. Feeding the hungry, that's the physical need. Jackets for children, shoes for orphan souls, shoes for orphans. Shoes for Orphan Souls is a ministry that, it's a catchy name, but they give shoes to orphans in Honduras and Guatemala. It's a great program. But this ministry is focused on the bodily, the physical, shoes, jackets, clothes, paying rent, groceries, soup kitchens, etc., which is great. Some focus on the will. A lot of 12 steps focus on the will. Just push your way through this, push your way through this, push your way through this, just with enough determination and fellowship, you can push through this and that, There's some that focus on the mind, which is generally where mostly Messianics fall, is people just need information. And they just have this information. This information is going to change everything. And a lot of times the information we give them is really not relevant to anything they're going through. And there are ministries that focus on the spirit side of things, which are extremely prophetic. Usually worship. They're usually big on worship and ushering in the spirit and these things. And there are ministries that focus on the heart. So there's the body. Everybody's got a body, and everybody's got a soul. The soul is the mind, the will, and the emotions. The brain, the heart, and the will, and then the spirit. So some ministries are for the body. Some ministries focus more on the mind, like Rabbi Zacharias does an apologetics ministry, focus on the mind. There's a lot of 12 steps, focus on the will. And Hebrew Hearts focuses on the heart. And then there's ministries focused on the spirit, like Joel Whitaker does a lot of prophecy and things. It's a spiritual thing. And some, like the Salvation Army or the soup kitchens, will focus on the body. So everybody's called to minister in a different way, in a different aspect, to a different aspect of the person, I think. So Hebrew Hearts is focused on the heart. And it's focused on the heart in a unique way, in that what is on the Father's heart should be in our hearts, and what is on heavy on our hearts is probably on his heart as well. So we should be cognizant of both. Like, I see a lot of ways that things our culture has accepted as just normal. Oh, that's just every day, that's just normal. Absolutely break the heart of God every day. You can just feel it, but we accept it as normal. It's not tragic to us. Fatherless children are somehow to us not tragic. Oh, that's every day. They'll be all right. Those kids just grow up without dad 15, 20 years. That's okay. That's all right. They'll be fine. Nowhere in Scripture is that okay. Nowhere. Divorce left and right. People just getting divorced left and right. And sometimes it happens. But that's breaking the covenant. God is not okay with that. That breaks his heart. People breaking their word left and right. We make promises we don't keep. We say things we don't mean. We flippantly pledge this and that. That's very grievous thing in Scripture. It breaks Yahweh's heart. A lot of the pagan stuff we do breaks his heart, because we honor counterfeits more than the real thing. And Yahweh gives us things that celebrate him, but we almost despise those things, and we'd rather have the counterfeit that has nothing to do with him. So there are things that break Yahweh's heart, and we focus on that at Hebrew Hearts Ministry. What is breaking Yahweh's heart in our culture and society? And there's also the individual's heart. Like, if something is important to my daughters, it should be important to me. Like my youngest daughter, Shema. She loves anything purple. Her sister loves anything pink. Her older sister, Aliana. So Shema wants the purple pony, and Aliana has a purple pony. Then Aliana might give the youngest one, Shema, the purple pony, because it's purple and it's very important to Shema's heart. So her sister, her sibling and by blood and by Messiah, her sister and Messiah, her sister, because they have the same father, her sister knows having a purple pony instead of a pink one is important to Shema. So her sister will make sure she gets the purple pony because that's important to her individually. It's important to her sister, so she makes sure she has it. And her sister also knows it's important to the father that she had the purple one, not just any one. And it's important to me too. So that's how we should all work in the body of Messiah, is we look out for each other's hearts. My oldest daughter looks out for my youngest daughter's hearts. Make sure she has the purple pony instead of just any old pony. I make sure if I'm at the store, I'll get her the purple one instead of the blue one, because that's important to her heart. And if I just got her any old pony or any old farm animal, I wouldn't be fighting for her heart. I wouldn't be taking care of her heart. Because I think we're in a way we're all called to be romantics. And romantic, in a way, is seeing what makes one person different from another person. What is important to this one person that's not important to everybody? What does this person need that not everyone else needs? What is the unmet need in this person? What is the unrecognized need in this person? What is the upcoming need of this person? What will make this person smile and not make everybody else smile? And in spiritual level, what will speak to this person's heart and spirit more than anything else? And that can't be done with this blanket thing of, oh, everybody needs to know about the Sabbath. Well, this is true. And some people's heart really needs rest. Sometimes the Sabbath is what they need to know. They need to know that it's okay to rest. There's a divine mandate to rest. It's a commandment, that's true. But they need the allowance to rest. They need the divine permission to rest because they wear themselves out. They have an internal need to just push themselves to breaking point. And that person, the workaholics especially, their heart needs permission to rest. So in that regard, Sabbath is what their heart needs. That is fighting for heart, to show them the Sabbath, to invite them over for Sabbath dinner, to give them an example of the Sabbath, to show them instructions about the Sabbath. This is what their heart needs. But someone battling drug addiction, for example, they're fighting mostly shame. It's shame. Shame is usually the root of that. And their heart needs acceptance far more than it needs to know about the Sabbath. That needs that encouragement, that agape, that chesed, that unmerited grace, that agape, that unconditional love. They need that more than they know, well, don't go to Walmart on Saturday. Or it's okay not to go to the office on Saturday. God said it's okay. The addict needs the chesed, the agape, more than they need to right now, at this moment. They need to know more about the chesed than they did the Shabbat. They need to know more about the agape than they do the Sabbath. But if someone's a workaholic, they need to know more about the Shabbat, the rest, than they do necessarily the unconditional love. And that's part of it's unconditional because they tend to work for love. But, it's what does each person need? Because Yahweh has millions of children, and he doesn't just blanket all of them with the same thing every time. That's where the Spirit comes in. The Torah is universal instructions. Scriptures are universal instructions for everybody. For all of his children, all the time, period. But there is an individual instruction that comes in with the Spirit, because the Spirit is individualized. And the Spirit moves upon us to reach people individually in different ways. I'm not called to operate in every single gift there is. I teach, I write, I do dream interpretation, things like that. But I'm not called to be an evangelist. I'm not called to be an apostle or prophet or pastor. I'm generally helpful with information and revelation. That's my ministry team. Melissa is there with us. Melissa's just got the incredible gift of encouragement. Just very soothing voice, very patient, very kind, very loving, very compassionate. And Melissa has a testimony that'll blow your mind because she's been through things that most people just wouldn't make it through. Therefore, she can relate to people. James is on the team because James has an intercessory and prophetic gift, a healing gift. But James been through some things too. And James really has a calling to work with addicts and the homeless and the mentally ill. And Melissa really has a call to encourage people that are just worn out and tired, just tired. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally tired. And I have a calling, I think, to kind of reach out to people that are digging deeper. They know some things. They know some things they learned in church or in religion, but they want deeper things. So I'm kind of called to work with those people. But so Yahweh will send me to certain individuals needing a certain thing. And he will send Melissa to a different individual needing a different thing. And he will send James to a different individual needing a different thing. But as Messianics, we think all of us are called to be teachers, and our calling is to give everyone we meet the same information, which isn't exactly true. I guess someone's a workaholic. I might be called to go explain Sabbath to them because I'm a teacher. But if someone's in addiction, James might be called to go to show that person unconditional love. Or if someone's just freaking exhausted, they're just tired and they got 5 kids and they're emotionally exhausted, Melissa might be called to go encourage that person that they can make it through. But that's what we do here at Hebrew Hearts, is we fight for hearts. What is on Yahweh's heart for the culture, and what is on Yahweh's heart for the individual? What does the culture need? What does the church and the culture need? What do they need that Yahweh's shown us? Yahweh shows us what the church needs and what the culture needs. Yahweh shows us what is breaking his heart that's going on in the church and the culture. Yahweh shows us what is going on in the church and the culture that is hurting the church and hurting the people in the culture that they're not even aware of. Like a father's heart. He shows his heart. He shows us what is breaking his heart in the people, in the church and the culture. And also, he shows us what each individual person needs. I mean, this stressed out couple with 3 kids might need a date night. So instead of give them a 45-minute Sabbath lecture or a Sabbath book about stuff they already know, just send them on a date, Just get a gift card at Applebee's and send them on a date. That's what they need most. That's what that marriage needs, is them to go on a date. That's what they need. And they can't afford it, so Yahweh's heart is for them to have some alone time to strengthen their covenant so their marriage will last, so their kids don't grow up in a broken home. Sometimes that's what they need, more than a lecture. So it's like a Hebrew heart saying, it's fighting for their hearts. Fight for what's on Yahweh's heart. Fight for what's needed by the hearts of the people. And also fight for the covenant. Fight for the family. Fight for the covenant. Fight for unity. Fight for understanding. Fight for people to walk into their calling. And walking into the calling might be a process. Someone might be called to be a famous children's advocate, or an evangelist, or a teacher, or who knows, a prophet, or a pastor. But they're not ready for that. Right now, they might just be so tired they don't know what to do. So right now, they need Melissa to come in and encourage them. And then when they get past the point of frazzled, they might need James to come in and pray for something that happened to them 20 years ago. And then after that, they might need me to come in and explain to them the fivefold ministry and where they fit into that. But when they're worn out condition, they need Melissa. And when the inner healing, they might need James. And then when it comes time for their specific call, they might need me. Or they might need one of you guys. But if I come in out of time, or James or Melissa comes in out of time, we're just kind of blanketing them with stuff. It's like dropping flyers over Germany, World War II. We're just doing like these mass mailings you get in your mailbox. Nothing for you specifically. It's just some coupons for the car wash or something. But you need a letter handwritten to you right when you need it. Not 10 years later, not 10 years before. So Hebrew Hearts Ministry, we're fighting for hearts. And we hope to do that led by the Spirit, but also, I guess, led by the Spirit, limited by the truth. Because the Spirit will never take you past the boundaries the Torah is established. The Torah is the book of truth. So John 4:24, he desires worshipers in spirit and truth. Well, the Spirit will never take you past the boundary, or the book of truth will let you go. But also, if you just have the book of truth, you're just kind of sitting there like a book doesn't move. The wind blows, and the book stays there. So the Spirit will move you all sorts of places within that book, but it won't take you beyond the book. So we hope to be led by the Spirit to fight for what's on Yahweh's heart, for the church, for the culture, for the family, for the covenant, for the individual, for the children. And we hope to fight for the hearts of people. And that's why I met Melissa December 12th of 2013. She's coming through Georgia where I lived. And I met Melissa when she's passing through town, met her at a restaurant, and I just, strange thing, I just randomly kind of said, Yahweh called me to fight for hearts. We're just friends, and just talking about the Messianic movement and calling and such. And it just kind of came out. And I think I had typed it the night before. It's about fighting for hearts. And then we did ministry for a long time, and her husband Chad came in, and he did some ministry too, and some more vision of these people whose hearts have been ignored. Chad has a real vision for people whose hearts have been ignored, like the homeless or the addicted, the people whose hearts the church has kind of overlooked. And he's got a similar mission. And then James came in, and that's James's thing too. The fight for the hearts of the people that have been overlooked. And the Messianic movement, I think the heart entirely has been overlooked, because the brain is the focus, the knowledge is the focus, the obedience to the letter of the law is the focus. And once people are fully obedient to the black and white letters of the Torah and our opinion of what it says, we don't care about their hearts generally. Marriages are falling apart, children growing up fatherless, people have addictions, people are just broken, anxious, depressed, financially broken, tired of their jobs, and totally not doing their calling. But that's okay. They came to the congregation on Sabbath, and they spell the Creator's name the right way. So we're good now. Move along. Nothing to see here. Just ignore the addiction and the shame and the brokenness and the divorce and the fatherlessness. Let's just ignore all that, because they say the Creator's name the way we like. And they showed up for tabernacles. They went camping, so they must be good now. That really breaks Yahweh's heart. Our blindness. We are one eye blind. Like the right eye is open to the Sabbath and the feast and the Bible diet. And we see all this that most of the church doesn't see. But on the other hand, the church has their left eye open, and they see these broken hearts and this shame and this addiction. And oftentimes they see this fatherlessness and this divorce and all these things. And it's not okay with them. So we're like this. Sorry. We are like this, and we see the Sabbath, we see the feast, we see all these things church missed. But we're blind to the rest of it. And the church is over here, and they see the shame and the addiction and the fatherlessness and the divorce and the poverty. And they're horrified by it just as much as we're horrified by what we see. But we don't have the whole picture. So the Messianic movement, we have the book of truth. We have the book of truth. We see the book of truth, but we don't see the spirit side. And the Christians see the spirit side, but they don't see the book of truth. So if we unite those, it's like Ephraim and Judah. If those are united in the Messiah, and only the Messiah can do it. Only the Messiah can unite the spirit and the truth. But once he does it, it's a beautiful thing. But we're so stuck on the letter of the Torah that we miss the spirit of the Torah. Why did Yahweh give the Sabbath? Part of it is to show he's your creator, which prevents atheism, which prevents communist revolutions that murders millions of people, starves the rest to death. But also, why do you give the Sabbath? So we don't work ourselves to death. Why do you give the Sabbath? So we spend time with our families, so we don't get divorced, so our children don't grow up fatherless. Okay? And now we're going back to keeping the Sabbath, but we didn't for several hundred years. So not only is the problem a missing Sabbath, the problem is divorce, fatherlessness, women with no husband, husbands with no wives, children with no father, children with no mother, children with physically present parents that are too addicted or too tired to know how to be parents. Parents that never saw how to be parents. We can fix the Sabbath thing real quick. And you can write a book about the Sabbath and fix that in 20 minutes. But there's so much damage from not having it. We have to deal with the damage too. We missed the Sabbath for centuries. We restored it. That's great. But now, as a movement, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with these broken families that are already broken, and we can't get in a time machine and go back and unbreak them? What are we going to do with those broken hearts? So if you got a broken heart, your mind being theologically correct on certain issues doesn't really change your life much. I know that's been most of my life. Theologically correct about, Sabbath and feast and whatnot, and totally brokenhearted to the point of not being able to do much for anybody. So if we can fix that, I think we'll do a lot of good. Like, you can give somebody a map. You can give them the Torah. You can give them a map that shows where the race begins and ends, and all the curves and all the hills and all the stops in the middle. But if they got a broken leg, it's not going to do them a whole lot of good. So giving them a map is great, but give them a map and mending the broken leg is better. Or better yet, giving them the Torah and mending the broken heart actually allows them to do something with that knowledge. So that's kind of the basic concept of Hebrew hearts. There's more specifics we'll get into later, but this is like my theology of Hebrew hearts. So hope that helps you guys. Shalom.